Sometimes you just don't know where life will take you. From playing at Carnegie Hall to Korea and Vietnam, Jeremy Killeen loved playing for audiences on trombone. But after an injury, he had to change his path. Please enjoy this conversation with Jeremy about his musical journey and his continuing love of music. Jeremy Killeen is next on OTP.
Hey, welcome aboard. Welcome to OTP. Jeremy, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. I just want to thank you for taking time out of your day. I know you're a busy man. You just told me off camera you got something moving tomorrow and working on, right? I know you don't want to spill the details.
Yeah, I got a lot going on.
Yeah, you're busy, huh?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much. I do appreciate you taking the time. So let's jump right in. Tell us, where are you from originally, first of all?
So I grew up in Highland Park, Illinois, which is about 30 minutes north of Chicago. I went to Highland Park High School for school. And yeah, I kind of grew up in that area all my life until I went to college and left.
Okay. All
Illinois.
right.
So.
All right, let's give some love to your family. Do you have siblings?
Yeah, I have a younger sister. She was not a musician at all. She danced a lot growing up.
Cool.
Yeah, so she was much more in that realm of the arts side of it. But my mom played music growing up. She was in band all through high school and college and stuff. She was a clarinet player, and then she was a drum major at University of Colorado, actually.
Oh, wow.
She was one of the first female drum majors in the marching band. So,
wow, that's something to be proud about.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that takes some skills there. And what's her name? We got to give a shout out to mom there.
Oh, yeah, her name is Carol.
Carol.
She doesn't live too far from you guys.
Oh, really? Where's she at?
Yeah, she's in Santa Fe.
Oh, cool. Very good.
She just moved there a few years ago. So
very good. Maybe she was down for the balloon fiesta. We just had the balloon fiesta this week.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, she was telling me a little bit about the eclipse that just happened.
Yeah, yesterday, matter of fact.
Yeah, she was watching that, and she was telling me how, like, in Albuquerque and Santa Fe, it was like 100% visibility. So
yeah. Oh, yeah.
She really enjoyed being able to do that. So
when this episode goes live, it'll probably be about a month from now, so it'll be back. But yeah, there you go. Very good.
Yeah.
So there was music played in your house, and you had it around you a lot.
Yeah. We started actually when I was younger. When we were going to church, we were in the choir. So I've been singing and kind of doing music has kind of been my entire life. We had music playing in the house all the time, and yeah, it was just kind of a natural part of my life, all around me. So music has been in my family. My she's 91 years old and still plays the piano every once in a while.
Oh, so, God bless her.
Yeah, I have a lot of cousins, and I have one cousin that would always play the accordion when we were around. So yeah, so music has kind of been in my life. My uncle's a trombone player himself, and both of his sons played music, and his youngest son is a saxophone player and gigs all around Denver and Boulder area. So
it's in your DNA.
Yeah, a little bit, at least on my mom's side.
Yeah. So now, but you didn't start right away. Take us at that part of your journey. How did you get to start playing on trombone?
So like a lot of kids, when you get into elementary school, you have like the petting zoo, basically the instrument petting zoo. My mom being a clarinet player, I was like, oh, I'll play the clarinet. I'll try that. And I'll try the saxophone and all these things. And I go to try to make a noise on a clarinet and a saxophone. I couldn't make a noise. I couldn't make a noise at all. It was terrible. And then I picked up a trombone, and of course, everyone going to play the trombone just gives a giant breath, and it's just a big splatty bazooka sound. Um,
Right.
and the teacher was just like, or whoever I was trying the instrument was like, wow, you make a great sound on that instrument. So you should play this one. So I ended up starting playing the trombone in 5th grade, and that kind of led
Right.
me
Right.
on my journey from there. So
Right. That you brought back a memory because I've done the same thing when I was teaching, the kid gets a vibration out of the mouthpiece on, trombone, euphonium, or what have you. And okay, let's make this work, and you see the kid's eyes, go up. Very.
exactly.
Did you take to the sound of the trombone? Did you, when you started producing, or did you hear the trombone being played? Well, you said you have relatives playing trombone, so you knew what it sounded like. Was that sound appealing to you?
At first, like, I wasn't really sure because it was an instrument that had been around me, but I hadn't really experienced it at all,
Okay.
to that extent to really understand it. As I got older, I started to love the sound of the trombone, and I kind of love the resonance, especially playing in big
Mm,
open spaces, like how
yeah.
the instrument just sang in
Right.
resonant halls and stuff. So that's when
Yes.
I started really falling in love with the sound of the trombone more than anything. But at the beginning, it was just kind of like, oh, this is a cool sounding noise. I can make lots of loud noises on it. So
Right. Right.
I'm gonna do that.
You know, you stirred another thought though, which was, as you develop into middle school and high school and all the way through, but how was your ear back then? I mean, because Lord knows on trombone, I dare say, and probably a lot of people listening to this will disagree, but maybe French horn maybe may be the more difficult instrument to find the pitch, but trombone is right up there. How was your ear when you first started? Did you find that difficult to find those E flats and E naturals and so forth?
Yeah, that definitely took a lot of time to develop my ear for sure.
Mhm.
But the more I played with other people is when it
Yeah,
started to develop at a
yeah,
higher level.
yeah.
Um, I didn't really have the relationship to it, to my ear and playing, until I was in probably end of middle school, early high school. I just, yeah, it just wasn't something that was focused on much. It was focused on like making a good sound, knowing where the note lied, but not until later was ear training and those things like that kind of incorporated into the daily routine of playing.
Right, right. Gotcha. Yeah, it takes a while for that to develop, unless you're born with perfect pitch or something like that.
Right.
Um, but now you did, by your notes you gave me, you started having experience in vocal and working with vocal. Tell us a little bit with that.
Yeah, so when I was in middle school, after being in church choir my entire youth, um, we had the opportunity. There was this program called Midwest Young Artists
Mm,
in my area, and they had a youth choir, and that was something that intrigued me. So I joined this youth choir, and had the opportunity to sing at Carnegie Hall with this group and sing in Symphony Center for during Christmas time. There's a CD floating out there somewhere with me singing on it, some holiday tunes. So, but I got to work with an incredible, like, I guess you could conductor, I guess you could say.
uh,
But his name's Gary Fry, and
mhm,
this man
yeah,
is an amazing composer. He's an amazing human being, and he
right,
is one of the biggest like catalysts for me really starting to take music seriously because of how
mm,
passionate he was just about music.
wow,
He's up there leading the choir, and he is just pouring
wow,
his heart and soul into it. And so he kind of started that really big joy, showing me like, oh, we can go sing here
yeah,
at Carnegie Hall, go to New York and sing at in Carnegie Hall with
Yeah.
this youth choir, and then go to all these other places. So I did that for, I believe it was 6th and 7th grade. And then I ended up stopping in 7th grade because I started to take the trombone much more seriously and realized that I wanted to focus more of my time on that than I did on singing.
Wow.
So
That is amazing. I was going to ask about what age were you in, and then to make that transition after having that seed planted with you in vocal. I'm just surprised that you didn't stay with the vocals and go the choir route and in that area. Uh, Tell me a little bit more about that. Why was the trombone so powerful that it just magnetized you that way?
honestly, it's a it's more of a self-confidence issue more than anything.
Okay.
Because when I was singing, I was up front more. I was the center of attention. But when I
Right.
was playing trombone, I was in the background a lot.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
and
Go
so
ahead.
kids in school weren't always the nicest to me. And because of
Okay.
that, because it was such a big thing for my young age, it started all the way in like kindergarten and all, it led all through school. And so it
Sure.
was because of that, I didn't like being the center of attention in that way. And
Ah,
so with singing, I felt much more exposed. And when I was playing
interesting.
trombone, I was able to be in the background more. Um, and that made me feel more comfortable. So I had a
Okay.
bigger desire to want to get better at it because I was comfortable
Ah,
in my,
yes,
yeah,
yes,
physically and everything like that. So it's just one of those interesting psychological things that I didn't
yes,
realize till I was older.
yes. That is really fascinating. I'm glad you brought that up because just to take a pause here, there are so many, I believe, I know I have struggled, and Jarrett, my son, has talked, other musicians have talked about this. I think almost if you play, if you're in the arts, that feeling of anxiety, if we want to call it that, tension of being out in front, we have to all deal with. It comes with the territory.
Exactly.
But then you didn't quit. You didn't
No.
say, okay, I'm done with this. You focused on another avenue at a young age. That's now, did your choir teacher, the instructor, or anyone in your life circle at that time try to discourage you from moving toward the instrumental?
No, my mom was super supportive, especially when it come to instrumental because she had grown up in it and she knew how
Yeah,
much of a big portion of it of her life that it
yeah,
affected.
yeah.
Um, so it was always kind of a, oh, you want to do this?
Right.
Cool. Oh, you want to dance? Cool. So like I got that extroverted portion out of me in some way because I actually grew up tap dancing as well. So that's
Ah,
kind of where my sense of rhythm came from is that.
yes.
So
There you go. There you go.
but
Now let's do. Yeah,
I
go
got
ahead.
support in
Finish.
all ways from my family. Yeah, I was just I got support from my mom in all different avenues. She was
Yeah.
like just wanted me to succeed and find what I loved. So
All right, let's give a pause for your mom. He off camera, you talked to me about this. She was a drum major, right?
yeah.
First female. Just tell a little bit about that to our audience for your mom.
Yeah. She started playing the clarinet when she was younger. She grew up in Pueblo, Colorado, and marching band was a big part of her life. There's this thing I think it's still going on today. It's called Pueblo Pride City Marching Band.
Okay.
And so it was a out of school marching band on top of whatever she was got going on in school. And when she went to school at University of Colorado, she got the opportunity to be in the marching band, and she got the opportunity to be one of the first female drum majors at that school.
Uh, there you
So
go. That's
yeah,
an accomplishment.
she wasn't a music major, but she loved music. It was such a big
That's
part of
it.
her life. So yeah, that's all
Yeah.
it takes.
Does she still play a little bit? And
No, not
no,
really.
yeah,
No.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
she
Well,
just she still has her clarinet, I'm pretty sure. But
we'll work on her. We got a place for it here in Albuquerque.
there you
We'll
go.
bring her back into it. There you go. So, tell us a little bit about the Carnegie Hall experience. I think maybe some of the audience may want to know about that. What was that like?
surreal is the only thing I can really put into words, because at the time I didn't realize how big of a deal it was.
Yeah.
I mean, I was in 7th grade and had the opportunity to go sing in one of the biggest halls in the
Right.
United States and even in the world, and
Yeah.
didn't have any understanding of what it was or what
Right.
that meant until
Yeah.
I was older.
Yeah.
But I just remember the best memory I have at it is we were there with a bunch of other choirs and we're all standing on there singing, and
Mhm.
we sing the last note and it's just resonance. You just hear it
Yeah. Yeah.
in the hall and you hear that silence for a moment right
Right.
before the applause, and it was
Yeah.
surreal. It's just a
Stay
surreal
with you
experience.
all your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. What a treasure that was given to you at a young age. That's
Yeah.
great. That's great. Diamond to keep in memory.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, you're in high school playing trombone. Tell us a little bit about that journey.
Yeah. Played the trombone all through high school.
Mhm.
When I was in my junior year of high school, actually, is when I was like really adamant that I wanted to pursue music as a career.
Mhm.
Um, and I was at an honor band festival.
Oh, yeah.
And the conductor on the podium, his name was Patrick Sweeten, who was a lieutenant in the Navy band. At that time he was the director of the Great Lakes Navy Band.
Okay.
Um, and so he was up there conducting, and he made a comment at one point: if anyone's looking for private teachers or anything like that, come reach out to me. We have great musicians in the Navy. And so that was kind of my first
Okay.
exposure to the Navy band and the Navy fleet bands.
Right. Yeah.
Um, and I ended up going and talking to him, and he said, I'm a trombone player myself, so come over to my house and we'll start
Yeah.
lessons. And that is where it all
Yeah.
began. It didn't begin there, but that's when,
Right. Yeah.
like, I became very, very serious about the instrument itself, because I
Yeah.
had someone motivating me
Yeah.
externally
Right.
to do better, and was giving me and guiding me in the way
Right.
that I
Right.
hadn't had a lot of up until that point.
Yeah. You had a mentor there
Yeah.
that was going to take your hand and pass the baton. That's good. That's good.
Yeah,
Yeah. Right
exactly.
on. Yeah. That typically happens with music educators or musicians, even on the street corner. You get somebody that will teach you whatever way they can. But that's great.
Yeah.
So you had to make a decision on college and playing, and how did that come about?
Yeah, I was starting to take auditions and stuff like that, going to different schools, visiting them, meeting the professors, and trying to
Sure.
decide what was best for me. And when this all started, my teacher at the time was like, "Oh, you should check out George Mason. I know the teacher there. He's a great trombone player, a great person." Um, and so I was like, "Okay, I might as well go
Yeah.
out there for a visit." You know,
Right.
I go out there for a visit, and I love the campus. I love the facilities,
Right.
and the teacher was just someone I could just have a conversation with. You know,
Right. Right. Right.
I
Right.
didn't feel that sense of, oh, just you're a greater person than me. You're not treating me like I'm less than you. You're just
Yeah.
treating me like a person.
Right.
um and that spoke to me, because it was like, wow, we can just work on stuff, we can just play together, and then while we're doing that, you're going to help give me information and skills and tricks
Right.
to better myself as a player. And you're invested in that, and you're not just invested in me as a box to check,
Right. Right. Yeah.
you know. And
Right.
with some schools that can be the case. It's like, oh, how many people can we get? No, it's about, he wanted to work with me because we connected, and I wanted to work with him because of the same way.
Yeah.
So it was a pretty big impression he made, that Matt Neff is his name, made on me at the time, just as someone looking for that next step. Because moving to I went to George. I ended up going to George Mason University in Fairfax, Virginia, and moving all halfway across the country from Illinois,
Right.
Was a big step for me. Most of the schools I was
Yeah.
looking at were either in state
Yeah.
or very close by. So
Right. Yeah.
that was important to my mom as well, that I would be with someone who actually cared about
Right.
me as a person,
Right. Keep you on the straight and narrow.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm feeling you on that because I was from Boston and my dad died when I was 16. And I went to Grambling State in Louisiana. And to be honest with you, I didn't even know where Louisiana was. All I knew was Boston and New York and Maine and New Hampshire and all that mess,
Yeah.
So totally understand where you're coming from on that, and being a young person and having someone to also, you mentioned, I want to talk a little bit about that because I think that's important. The last podcast I did, we talked about the relationship in the universities and the atmosphere in universities with the music department. And some universities can be kind of overwhelming, kind of pressurized, and you don't get that personalized connection that you talked about.
Mhm.
And I think that's important.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the things that always stuck out to me was that I would go to my lessons and we'd go, we'd play, we'd talk about whatever, we'd work on a lot of different things, and it wasn't a time slot. If my
Yeah.
lesson started at like 4 p.m. and got over at 7 p.m., that's when my
Right.
lesson got over.
Yeah.
It wasn't he was invested in me as a player, and he created an environment that didn't make it feel like it was just a transactional
Yeah. Right
occurrence.
on. Yeah.
Because I'd had experiences like that in the past where it was very much a transactional experience rather than a communication and working together to better myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like the focus was not on, oh, let's go through these exercises only, and then once we're done with that, you'll do this, this, and the other. It was, what are you working on now? How can we get you to where
Yeah.
we ultimately want to be?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I had this similar experience at Grambling with my sax instructor, Mr. Seals, and he literally one part of my journey was I started straying away from my horn because I sort of found ladies, and he told me, I went back. He said, "You're not practicing," He said, "Come back when you decide you got to practice." And told me, don't come back,
Yeah.
And finally I learned, okay, this is what I need to do. Went back. And then when it was time for me to graduate, I wanted to stay one more semester. And he said, no, it's time for you to go. And he literally forced me to graduate. The marching band was going to Grambling State University, world famed Tiger Marching Band, was going to go back to Japan. And I wanted to go back with them. But anyway, so I totally understand what you're talking about. You also had an experience with the American Festival Pop Orchestra. Tell us about that. I don't know a lot about that.
Yeah, so it was a kind of an orchestra that was around. It was in DC. It was led by Tony Maiello, who is very big in the wind band and orchestra conducting world. He's written a couple books on conducting itself, and being at George Mason, he was a professor there, so I got to actually work with him in aural skills and in conducting. And one of the things he did is he takes a couple students when he feels they're ready to, and he hires them to play in the orchestra with him. And this orchestra is comprised of all local musicians around the area, people in a lot of the brass section was all in the military bands. Same with woodwind section, and there was a lot of like faculty from the university on top of that as well. So
Sure.
everyone that was playing in this group was like actively playing
Yeah.
at a very high level. So I got the opportunity to sit alongside them for a couple of their concerts, which was an incredible experience. But Tony Maiello is one of those other people that kind of altered my life because I was not the greatest at aural skills, especially at his level, the level he was teaching. It was very much a B, or not today was his motto. That he would come up to you and you'd sing the tonality, and you tonicize everything. You'd go ahead and he'd click off the tempo of the exercise, and you'd have to sing it. You had time to practice it the night before, and if you couldn't sing it, it's A, B, or not today. But I just remember I was in Aural Skills 3, and it was hard. It was really hard. I was not the greatest at it. But I went to his office every single day for his office hours just to get that practice and those reps. And one of the things he said to me, it was like, you are extremely hardworking. That is one of the reasons I am passing you. It is not because I shouldn't have passed that class. I definitely, in my opinion, should not have passed that class because I was just not good at it. But he knew how hard I worked and how I was not giving up on it.
That's it.
Fortitude.
You had the fortitude.
It has that mindset kind of ingrained in me for the rest of my life. It's just it's one of those things where it's like someone didn't give up on you. They believed in you, and you put the work in, and they see that, and it's a validation of that. And I think that's a huge thing in just life. That validation.
Absolutely. And also you probably either consciously or subconsciously found out that you did not give up on yourself, that you could see that, and it helps you as you move forward there. You graduate from college. What year was that about?
2017. So I took my audition for the Navy the second day, I think, of the second semester of my junior year of college. And I got the job and basically went to my administrator and was like, how can I graduate at the end of the semester with a music degree? And because I had started as music education, I had a couple other extra credits. I changed the performance my sophomore year, and I decided to do a minor on top of that. That actually was my saving grace, because they were like, okay, you can do 24 credits this semester and then more credits in the summer. So I think I did 36 credits in a semester in a summer to graduate. I gave 2 recitals. I did an internship and played in as many groups as I could, on top of trying to graduate school. So it was a crazy last 6 months of my life before I joined the Navy. 7 or 8 months.
Now
I ended up joining in August of that year, 2017.
Okay. So what out of the blue did it that just pushed you right away to go into the Navy and do that audition?
I had already kind of knew I wanted to be in a military band. That's one of the reasons another reason I wanted to go to George Mason is because it was right outside of DC. Because my influence from my teacher in high school, and then my teacher, one of my teachers in college, was military band. So I saw that and I saw what it could bring from a musical point of view of having a job playing and getting to travel and things like that. So that was kind of the biggest reasons I wanted to do that. My backup plan, if I didn't win a military band job, was to try to work for a nonprofit or go to grad school. So so it was, I was at a point in my life where I had really no reason not to do it. And my biggest thing was I really just wanted to get my degree. I just wanted
Yeah.
to graduate. So at that point, it was like I had the job, and
Right.
now I need to
Get out.
finish school. Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole
Yeah.
point of me coming to school was to get a job, and now I have a
Right.
job. So how
Yeah.
can I get this done?
Yeah.
Um,
Right. Yeah.
so
That's great. Well, first of all, thank you for your service.
no,
And
thank
we
you.
appreciate that because you don't take it lightly. People think, oh, you're going to play music and everything, but the bottom line is you're signing your life away for Uncle Sam for so many years, and something I didn't do, and but you're doing it for us, and we appreciate that, man. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Um. So now you're. I made a little note here. Have you ever thought about, or are you thinking about teaching down the road, or is that not off the table?
It was never really off the table.
Uh,
I I've done some teaching. I've taught some private lessons and things like that.
sure.
Um, but I don't know if I'll ever want to teach like elementary school, middle school, or high school.
Yeah.
Um, it's, I just I really like to teach people that really want to learn because I'm that type of person. I want to say that in the nicest way possible because
Well, that's a good. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I mean, I give all the credit to music teachers because some kids are just there for the credit and no matter how much you try to inspire them and get
Right.
them to love music and want to practice and want to grow, some of them are just there because it's an
Yeah.
extracurricular and they
Yeah.
don't want to, they're not
Yeah.
passionate about it,
Right. Yeah.
which is awesome because they know what they're passionate about or they're trying to find something else they're passionate about.
Right.
But um, because I am such a passionate person myself, it makes it very hard for me to
Yeah.
invest the energy in things.
See someone that, oh, you know what? I like what he's doing. I like what she's doing. That's something that I would be interested in. Then you have to find out whether they got the ability, the skill
Yeah.
level, how they got to work, and all that comes on. But anyway, I'm plugging the teaching aspect on it, put a bug in your ear, and all that kind of stuff. But it's
I give,
yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
no, all I was going to say is I give all the kudos to all the music educators out there because it is not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, no, I feel you on that. I totally get you. It is uh, a job where you're trying to work with a mold that it may not want to be molded, that kind of a thing. But you have that history in you. You have that insight. We've met. I can tell
Yeah.
you have that caring and nurturing aspect of yourself in there, and you're growing. So, like you said, you keep it on the table. Now you get into the Navy there, and boot camp. How was that? Let's talk briefly about that.
I personally, the biggest thing I struggled about with boot camp was accepting that even if I'm not the one that made the mistake, I still had to pay the price for it.
All in
Um,
one.
yeah. So that was the hardest part for me about it. But other than that, I didn't find it as difficult as other people might have, from
Right.
that regard. I wasn't sleeping very much in college, so I slept great in boot camp. It's one of the things I always tell people is that it's like I got some of the best sleep of my life in boot camp.
Right.
'Cause, I mean,
Right.
they were made us take 8 hours of
Yeah.
sleep for most of the night, so it was like,
Yeah. Hey, you can do that. I can do
and
that.
yeah, but
Yeah.
it was not easy by like mentally, it was not the easiest thing in the world, but
Right. Yeah. Yeah. There
I
you
had
go.
some great people in my division when I was in boot camp. I was actually in boot camp, I think, with 12 different musicians.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
12, yeah, that were so there was a lot of us going through the
Mhm.
same thing and with the same
Right.
career afterwards. So it was,
Right. Yeah.
yeah. So that was kind of cool to meet those people as well while going through it. And some of them I still
Yeah.
talk to this day. And
Sure.
so,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you go to a school
Hmm.
and explain that to the audience. There are a lot of people that are not military aware. I was not, if with Jared not being in there. Talk to us about what that is and why do you have to go there?
Yeah, it's just something the Navy does for, if you're not in the premier bands, you have to go to a training school. Um,
Mhm.
almost I think every other job in the Navy does that,
Mhm.
where you just go to it's called an A school where you go and you learn how to do your job.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's the best way to
Yeah.
describe it.
Right.
Um, yeah, it's and
How
so
long is it?
it's anywhere from like I think 3 months to 6 months, depending on if you accelerate out. So there's
Mhm.
and then you go to a band. So it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's just a blip in the journey.
Yeah.
That's the best way to put it.
Yeah, it's
But
a pimple.
yeah.
Yeah. So now you're on your way. Where was your first deployment or your stop?
Oh yeah, I was stationed in Hawaii for 3 years. Um,
Wow.
yeah, from 2018 to 2021. Um, I got to do some great traveling there and see different places. I met my wife there, which was
Yeah.
o obviously great.
Yeah. There you go.
Um, yeah, so I love the islands so much.
Uh-huh.
It's a magical place to be able to go somewhere where you're just surrounded by beauty and water. You
There
know,
you go. Yeah.
I had the opportunity to travel to Vietnam and Korea and perform in those countries and Micronesia,
Yeah.
um, part of Pacific Partnership. And then, yeah, during when COVID hit, I was still there and we were not doing as much, but um, I started getting to running a lot. So actually, I
Oh,
ran around the island of Oahu. And at the time, I had set
okay.
the record for actually running the fastest time around the
Oh,
island.
wow.
Yeah,
Look at you. All
around the perimeter of
right.
the island. So,
Yeah. Keep doing that. Stay healthy. There you
yeah.
go. And what's your wife's name?
Her name's Rika. She's a
Rika.
dancer and a
Okay.
choreographer. So,
Great. In the
yeah,
arts. There you
yeah,
go.
yeah. She was
That's great.
dancing in a show in Waikiki when we met, and now she mainly does gymnastics choreography. So,
Cool. That's great.
yeah, she
Yeah.
choreographs for anywhere from young gymnasts to elite gymnasts.
All right. There you go.
Yeah,
What an experience.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So now tell us a little bit about those gigs because there are a lot of, like I said, a lot of people. We've been exposed as a parent of a Navy performer. But what was it like playing in all those areas? What was your audience like? The music you were playing? Give us a little insight.
Yeah, it varied from time to time whenever we travel, but I got to travel to Micronesia with a brass band, and that was we were playing at a bunch of schools for all these people that may not have ever seen this before, like live
Yeah.
music like at that level and like that before.
Right.
So it was just life changing is the best way to put
Yeah.
it. Just to see the pure joy and love for what we were doing on their
Yeah.
face. Like
The
there's no
innocence.
other way to describe that. Even from
Yeah.
the adults, it was like
Yeah.
everyone was just so entranced with what we were doing, and they just were so
Love it.
attentive to
Yeah, I
what
love it.
was happening. And that's an experience I can never forget, because it's like
Yeah,
you're sitting there, you're playing your heart out, and they are fully
right,
focused and in love with what they're doing. They might not even they weren't able to understand the words of what we were saying some of the times,
right.
but they just loved what we were doing, and they were 100% invested in it, which is
Yeah, yeah,
something you don't always get as a performer. You know, you don't
yeah.
always
Oh,
get
yeah,
people giving their entire attention to what you're doing. It's sometimes
right,
it's you're just playing and people are walking by and passing by and going about their day.
right, right.
But in
Yeah,
whenever I've gotten the opportunity to play overseas, it had been pretty cool
yeah,
audiences that we've played for, because everyone was just invested in it.
right, right. They give you that love of the
Yeah,
ear. Yeah, there you
absolutely.
go. So now, your journey transitions to audio engineering. How in the world did that happen?
Yeah. When I got to Washington State at Navy Band Northwest, where I'm at now, I started to develop a lot of pain in my elbow, um,
Mm,
to the point where I was just in so much pain all the time whenever I played, that I went to the doctor to kind of see what was going on.
yeah.
Um, and found out I had a bunch of things wrong with my elbow.
Wow.
And so I ended up having 2 surgeries on my elbow in the last year, which unfortunately didn't fix the problem. Um,
Wow.
yeah, so it started in end of 2021, and I stopped playing in um, basically beginning of 2022.
Right.
And yeah, ever since then, it's just my elbow is not going to recover, unfortunately. Um,
Yeah.
there's just so many things wrong with it. Um,
Yeah.
so I'm not really able to play the horn without being in excruciating pain.
Wow.
Um, so I had to find a new way to express myself, and I was already kind of interested in doing things with audio and sound. Um, and it had gotten to the point where now I needed to focus my energy on something else.
Right.
Because at the time I thought I was hopefully that it would come back. And so I was just doing audio and hoping that, oh, maybe this will come back, maybe I'll regain the ability to play again. And as time went on, and I realized that that wasn't going to happen as much, my
Right.
investment into audio and sound kind of took off, I should say. I just was even more invested. It gave me a new way to express myself musically. It gave me a new way to just be a part of music.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Again, it's one of those things where
Yeah.
you have so much love and passion for something, and you
Sure.
don't choose to walk away from it.
Right. Right. Right.
And I
Yeah.
think that was
Preach.
the hardest part, was it wasn't my choice.
Right.
Um, and because of that, it's like it plays a toll on you mentally, and it kind
Yeah.
of really has been one of the hardest things to kind of deal with, is because it's like you go to school, you invest your
Right.
entire life just in
Right.
music and playing this instrument, um, and it's a part of you, it's part of your identity, and that's kind of taken away.
Yeah.
Uh,
Sure.
and so when I found audio and I really started to get involved in it and really found that I could express myself musically through it
Right.
kind of took over, and
Right.
that same passion I had came back tenfold, because
I love it.
yeah, I love music so much. It's such a big part of who I am. So
You know, wow. There's so much there, Jeremy. First of all, the common thread from just a layman like myself looking at your life, that you started out this talk about the kids in this school giving you a hard time. I mean, let's put it where it shines, the bullying. that you
Yeah.
had. And that fortitude that you had then, all the way through to even when you didn't know you had the foresight to go to trombone, but you did take that avenue and developing that love for that instrument, moving forward, and then just on your journey, not giving up. And then all of a sudden, after all these wonderful experiences overseas and so forth, I can't even imagine your instrument having to put it away, and what you went through mentally, physically, pain, and your spiritual, that again, whatever seed that you have in you, you had it come back and refocus you on another element of music. And
Yeah.
bravo, man.
Thank you.
Your mother must be just like, that's my baby.
Yeah.
That's my
Yeah.
baby. That's my baby.
Yeah, she's very,
Um,
very supportive of everything I've done. So
oh yeah, I'm proud, man,
yeah,
because all the the degree, the playing, and everything else, but the biggest mountain that you had to uh, climb was the mountain of yourself in your mind after that injury. Do
yeah.
they know how that developed? Did it come from playing basketball when you were youth, or
Came from
or
playing trombone.
really? How do you
Yep.
like that?
Yeah,
Wow.
it was a big kind of catalyst of overuse injuries, bad luck with that joint in
Sure.
general, and just
Yeah.
some of it was, yeah, it's just overuse over time,
Right. Right.
and I guess it just they don't like that's the best explanation they have is overuse.
Yeah.
They haven't really they don't know why it got to the point it did. They don't know why um, the stuff that developed with it developed in the way that it did.
Yeah.
Um,
Sure.
so it's just
Yeah.
unfortunate
Yeah.
in that way. You know, it's I mean, I don't think it's talked about. It's talked about a lot in music and just arts in general, but it's like mental health is such a big aspect of that, and
Absolutely.
um, a lot of people don't see what people are going through.
Right
Um,
on.
they just because people are just smiling and having the greatest time on stage,
Right.
um, and it's sometimes not realize how much of a toll that it puts on you mentally when things aren't
Absolutely.
going right or you've been investing hours
Yeah.
and hours and hours into one thing and then you come to the
Yeah.
performance and it doesn't go the way you want it to. Um,
Absolutely.
and so, yeah, that's been the hardest part of the journey, honestly,
Yeah.
is getting
Yeah.
over those mental humps. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's and it's just
Yeah.
everyday battle. You know,
Yep.
it's you
Yeah.
just got to keep moving forward and not give up. And that's the thing I've really
Yeah.
learned over the years about everything is
Yeah.
everything can go wrong as long as I get up and don't give up, even if I
Yep.
feel like giving up.
Yeah. You're right on. Yeah. So now you're on this new path. And again, for those that are not aware, I really feel the audio engineer is that unsung hero because, you're not on stage, you're not doing all that stuff or anything. But let's face it, if that sax player, the trumpet, the vocalist, what have you, you get that, you work their magic, and it just gives you that little icing on the cake there to make it sound just, the top of the product. Tell us a little bit about the job.
As an audio engineer, I mean, there's so many different areas in the job. You know, there's everywhere from live sound, which is mainly what I've done in the Navy, to studio recording, um,
Mm,
things like that. So I've fortunately been exposed to a lot of it just with the nature of the Navy. The main job is running live sound. So I design the sound system that we use. I have to make sure all the microphones work, everything's routed properly, everything's set up the correct way.
right.
And then from there, make sure the show goes the way it's supposed to, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
We talk a lot about how a lot of it's problem solving.
Mhm.
And the other part of it for live is making the music, you know,
Right. Right. Right.
because you'll show up to at least in our job, you'll show up to a gig and they'll say, you'll call and be like, oh yeah, we need this many circuits. And
Yeah.
you show up, they're like, oh yeah, we have these two outlets that are on the same circuit. So,
Yeah. That's
so
it.
now we have to
Yeah.
redesign. I have to
Right.
decide what system I'm going to use based on that, you know,
Right.
what we
Yeah.
deal with power not working,
Right.
weather, you know, all
Yeah.
these different factors will affect
Right.
sound. So it's being able to think on my feet and
Right.
move on the fly. And so
Troubleshoot.
that's the biggest part of the job for live sound is
Yeah.
troubleshooting.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to like mixing and the studio side of it, there's so many different avenues in that. There are people that specifically focus on just being recording engineers, you know,
Right.
they're mixing engineers that after the track's been recorded and everything, they send it to someone who mixes the
Right.
track. And then there's
Yeah.
the mastering engineer who takes the track after everything's been summed together and added into
Right.
what you hear on the radio, and he makes it sound like you would hear on the radio. He or she
Right.
makes it sound like what you would hear on the radio, on iTunes, whatever.
Yeah.
So there's just so many different layers to
Yes.
audio that I don't think a lot of people
Yeah.
don't necessarily realize.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But with today's technology, like anyone can buy a computer and a microphone and an audio interface, and
Right. Yeah.
it's very much people can start their careers themselves. So
Right.
it's the next step of my journey has kind of been figuring out how am I going to be able to break into that aspect of
Right.
because unfortunately my time in the Navy has to come to an end because of my elbow.
Right.
But so I've been doing a lot more of building my studio, really focusing on learning recording and mixing. And so
Yeah.
I do a little bit of that on the side. So I'll record and people will send me their tracks that they've already recorded and I'll mix them
Right.
for them, you know, and
Yeah.
help with that.
Right.
So it's definitely a lot different.
Yeah. Well, we have an example of your work.
Oh yeah,
Let's
yeah,
see.
yeah.
You want to set this up a little bit? This is, I
Sure.
think, this summer, I believe.
Oh yeah, this is a recording from a live show we did in connection with Seafair. This is the rock band I'm working with. I think you've had a couple of the guys on the podcast before. Ray
Right.
Craig is the drummer.
Yeah.
Your son's playing saxophone in it.
Yeah. Cool.
And then Jesse's the guy singing. So
Sing it. All right. Let's take a look at it. There you go.
Boys to it, 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 boys to it. Hometown Billy's back again, doing a little East Coast thing. Twice a minute, going on. I see it. Not too hard, and not too soft. Hey, Hometown Billy's back again, doing a little East Coast thing. A point to minute, going on. Not too hard, and not too soft. Nada, do nada, ay ay ay, do nada, do
Well, I know I'll get a copy strike for that, but I'm not in it for the money. But that's great. I mean, the quality is right there. You can hear it.
Yeah,
It's some good work.
Thank you. Yeah, that was an interesting one because it was on a pier next to one of the ships, and so it's it was one of those things where I recorded the show because I wanted something to work on for later, and that was just
Okay.
one of those things that I was able to put that
Right.
together. So
Yeah. Yeah. Good work.
thank you.
Well, before we close off here, tell us what's your future. When do you leave out of the Navy, and what do you plan? So we can all tell everyone I taught him everything he knows,
Yeah, the timeline's kind of unknown with the process right now with me transitioning out to my elbow, but it most likely will be sometime next year. And then I'm going to be staying in the Seattle area for a little bit. Yeah, I'm gonna continue doing audio and things like that. So
Great.
if people are interested in
Yeah.
working with me at all, just you can find me
Yeah.
on Instagram and stuff like it's just at Jeremy Killeen, my first and last name.
Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can reach out there,
All right.
So
Yeah. Plug it
love to work
if
with people.
they need some mixing done and audio work.
Yeah, and if you
You're
want to
available.
record, just let me know, if you're in the area.
Great.
So,
Great.
yeah.
Well, before I let you go, I always ask our guests, music has been such a part, that's just mildly stating, it has not just been a part of your life, it has been the catalyst, the hook that dragged you through your life. Talk to the people that are listening that are either my age or young and maybe have given up playing. Maybe your mom, school your mom, getting back into music a little bit. We have the New Horizon band down here in Albuquerque, and it's for 50s and older musicians that come back and play. Talk to us about why music is so important for our being.
In my experience, when it comes to music, whenever I am down or whenever I'm happy or whenever I'm feeling any emotion, I can turn to music to either sit with me in that emotion or bring me out of that emotion or inspire me to do something difficult or whatever it might be. And it's part of who I am. It's part of what just inspires me to keep going. I guess I could say music can change lives.
Right.
And it can just bring people together.
Yeah.
I met my wife dancing at,
Mm-hmm.
she was dancing, came out dancing at a salsa club because I was playing in a Latin band at the time, a salsa band. And I met her because she was dancing,
There you
and
go.
we danced together and music brought that together.
That's
Yeah,
it.
dance was a part of that, but you wouldn't have
Right.
that experience if music wasn't there.
There you go.
You wouldn't have some of the just amazing events that have happened in this world without music.
That's right. There you go. Yeah.
I remember hearing Michael Jackson's Thriller album for the first time, and it was just life changing. It's just life changing to sit there and listen to that.
Right.
Just to hear the passion and the joy, and you watch videos of Michael dancing. It's like the music is inspiring him to move the way he does. Same with Elvis.
Right. Yeah.
Elvis just moved the way he did because of music.
There you go.
Moved him that much.
That's it.
And so music is just that catalyst to joy, peace, even suffering, but it helps us helps me in particular through everything, and it brings people together. And that's why music can't ever stop being a musician. It's what brings people together,
Yeah. Right on. You got the word in there, joy, and something that we all need, especially in these days. So God bless you and your wife and your mom and your family. And I'm so happy that you're moving forward with your audio work. And
Thank you.
much for coming and taking the time to share your journey and inspiring others to keep doing and moving forward. We want to thank also the audience for listening. We do appreciate it. Check out Jeremy, and if you need somebody to mix, give him some money. He'll do it for you. Let's go on out and play all the right notes.
You've been listening to The Podium.